and stuff you don't. It's the Ben and Bren Show.
Welcome back to the Ben and Bren Show. It's your three favorite people of all time, of all of history combined.
We got Brennan, Benny, and Dylan here.
Episode 2. If you haven't checked out episode 1 yet, be sure and go and watch it and like and subscribe.
How do you find it, Benny?
You can find it on YouTube, The Ben and Bren Show. You can find it on Spotify, The Ben and Bren Show. And I'm still ironing out.
Still working out the Apple Music, maybe.
Wherever else.
Everything else.
The other ones are going to be. But those are the two.
Those are the keys.
Those are like
that
the
episode should have been
standard.
called, I don't know what you titled it, but it should be.
Just my name.
Just your name, yeah.
I figured we'll just do all of them. Just
the names,
the
of who the
features,
guest is.
Name.
I got a strong name.
I feel like it could have been like one time at band camp because we talked about a lot of, yeah.
I never went to band camp.
Yeah. Well, I don't, well, we had it just for.
People did go to band camp, though.
We had band camp. We went away to a place one time for band camp, but there were other bands there, but we didn't socialize with them. It was just like your separate areas that you got to practice and stay. I don't know.
Was it sexy though? Sexy band camp? Or?
It was. I don't know. It wasn't It was not a sexy band
There were
camp.
no
I was
flutes
not
being
out
utilized.
yet. I don't think, and was dating my best friend from childhood at that point. Still, Daisha. Shout out Daisha.
It's too bad that didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. So no sexy time.
Wait, how old are we talking here?
15 or 16, I guess. It was right on the cusp. I was
Right.
about to come out.
Yeah.
It was brewing.
Yeah.
It was like a volcano about to
We were
erupt.
only first base. That was it. That was all I was comfortable
Couldn't
with.
physically get beyond
I was
that.
a good boy, and then I was a complete slut after that.
It was all.
Woo, doggy.
yeah.
Well, today we are going to be really getting to know our host, Brennan Villines. Just kidding.
Villains.
Is it villainous?
No,
No,
it's
no,
not.
it's Villines.
People think it's villainous, villains, yeah, all kinds of pronunciations. Also, I get
Villines.
Villines.
If you're
how you
down
say it.
south.
Yeah, it's Villines.
Okay, but what is it actually?
It's Villines.
Villines, okay.
Mhm. Yeah. It's probably supposed to be like Villine or
Right,
something
yeah.
because it's French, I think.
So you're French?
I think so. When I was methed out a few years ago, I did like ancestry stuff,
Right.
and was just like a nerd for like hours a day on it.
Just
and
awake
I got like
days on end.
Villines.
researching
I
your
only
ancestry.
got back to like mid 1800s. So no,
Do you know when your family came to the United States?
I probably found that information and quickly forgot. But
What ship brought you over from
Yeah.
the motherland?
there was this 1700s, sometime in the 1700s. Maybe Villines was 1700s, and then my mother's maiden name is Golday. One of them was 1700s, and the other was 1800s. And I want to say the 1800s was the Villines name.
So America's really your land.
Yeah.
You
Kind of. I
You
mean,
can-
there were some
yeah.
people here first.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't remember their names.
yeah,
Brennan Villines
Yeah.
could be a cool alter ego,
yes,
like name to release.
That's your straight
music under.
That's your straight personality.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And also, me and Ursula have said before that I feel like you could play like a high school bully.
Yeah.
You know,
oh,
like
totally.
evil bullying.
Well, I
jock.
have that suppressed energy in me from growing up. I mean,
Right.
in rural Kentucky, like I can hang with the bros. I can turn it on real quick.
Totally.
Yeah.
How much were you bullied?
You know, actually, not a lot.
He
I
did
think-
the bullying.
Yeah.
Boom, rings the
Yeah.
locker. Bang, 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 bang.
I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of. I can kind of remember each bullied incident that I ever had, sort of pretty clearly. Well, I don't know. I would have to.
You
stop
were
and think
you were
about it.
tall and attractive.
tall,
So if you're
attractive.
tall and attractive.
People felt
you,
threatened
Yeah,
regardless.
you generally get to.
and talented.
Yeah, so,
So.
you're the threat. You're
Triple
not
threat.
threatened. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, most of the people who bullied me in high school either have, I think, reconciled or were nicer to me
Or they're dead
later
right
on,
now.
or they're
Yeah.
literally dead.
A lot of
I
them
think I
died.
know a
I'm
few-
sorry.
A lot of them will fall off. Yeah.
COVID.
One particular incident that I had experienced when I was actually, I think maybe right out of high school. I went to a party at Murray State University. Shout out Murray State in Kentucky. Some of my older friends, Landy, happened to maybe be there at the party, I think. Our friend Landy.
Nice.
And there was this guy that was not fond of me and never really knew me, was 4 years older than me probably. And I showed up with Daisha, my high school girl, obviously out at that point. This was college. And we showed up. I think I was just home. And he was there. I won't name his name because he is, in fact, dead now, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
R.I.P.
so R.I.P., you know, I've it's all been forgiven. But was totally uncomfortable with my presence there. Everybody else was chill. I wasn't like showing up to the party in drag or anything. Like, it was just like, hey, I'm here. I brought beers for everyone. Like, I brought a cooler full of beer, like probably a 24-pack at least of Bud or something, and was just going about my business. I could feel this air of just like real tension. And my buddy John Jenkins, shout out John, man, good guy, grew up with me, and he was a bit older than me. He was this guy's age. And the guy was just shit-talking me from the beginning. I was just shaking hands with everybody, saying hi, and, you know, being Brennan, who I am. And it turned out that he was saying all this, talking all this shit behind me. And John took him outside and started yelling at him and beat his fucking ass to the ground.
Nice.
Like, beat the shit.
That's a good friend.
It's good to have friends like that.
Yeah, that's a good friend.
Shit out of this guy. And this guy was like jock, like dude, like, you know, very insecure.
Yeah, he was just jealous everybody else
Yeah.
liked you.
Or he wanted to fuck.
Or
I feel like a lot of bullying
One of the two.
energy is like subverted sexual energy.
Every conservative.
That's true.
Every conservative. I mean, there's a trend. Every conservative Republican or whack job that's like a anti-gay or whatever, the loudest voices end up on CNN with hookers and drugs. Gay hookers and drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like obsession. Like, why are you so into this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like
Why
a
do
lot
you
of
care?
people are not spending a lot of mental energy on this, and you seem to be hyper-focused.
But I remember from that party coming away with it super angry. I was like, ugh, why do people get in a fight? You know, like, why do people have to fight? And Daisha had to remind me. She was like, Brennan, they were fighting because he was talking shit about you. I didn't know at the time. I just knew that it was tense, but I was angry that people had gotten into a fight. I'm like, of course, you know, this is so uncivilized. And then I was just like, wow. And
Fighting over you.
They
Yeah.
were fighting over
little old me. Oh my God.
I love a good fight.
Have you ever been in a fight?
I was in a fight. The only fight I was ever in, my friend Katie, who was the first girl I ever kissed in the 4th grade. We kissed in a tent. It was like out of a movie. Like we were in a tent in her backyard. And I went over to her house for the afternoon. We were doing like some sort of fucking kissing game or whatever, you know, like you do when you're a kid. And I sort of liked her. She was always in school, you know, growing up with me, a year older than me. And her boyfriend's name was Bubba.
Bubba.
Bubba was so we since then reconciled this situation. I think.
If you're named Bubba, like, what do you think is your actual name? Like, that's got to be not.
You know,
on the
I can't
birth
remember.
certificate,
I
right?
think it was literally Bubba.
This is his only name.
Yeah, and
no surname.
and so the fight comes into play later. But we had started. She was with him, and then they broke up. And then we went to this dance at the community center, at the Dixon Community Center. I'm from Dixon, Kentucky. And Bubba was there. And word got around that I had kissed Katie. Okay. And I saw the workings of him with his clan over there, you know, getting angry. And I was just caring about my little queer little business, you know, just dancing around with the girls and stuff. And he punched me
Wow.
square in the face. And I was like, I acted like it didn't hurt, but you know, if you get punched, it hurts.
Usually,
Yeah.
Contact to the head generally is.
And I was traumatized
not
too
great.
because I was like, I was like, I didn't do anything wrong, you know, like it was just like she was a free agent, you know.
Sucker punched you.
I don't know that he sucker punched me. I think I remember him just sort of getting in my face and yelling, and I was just kind of like, whatever. And
Was this at school?
this was at our local community center.
The teen center.
It was
Pinball
yeah, it
machines
was-
and cheese fries. And
Yeah.
like,
and it was like a dance or something, and my parents got called, and then I just went home like a
Wow.
pussy. So
So you didn't punch him back.
I didn't punch him back.
Some people might not call that a fight.
yeah.
You got karma points.
I got in
though,
a
'cause
kerfuffle.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus would not have liked you hitting him back. So.
And I believed in Jesus at that time.
Turn the other
so,
cheek.
yeah. So
The
you
high
did-
road.
That's why
Yeah.
life has worked out for you.
Yes, yes. And I don't know where Bubba is today. I'm sure he's doing fine. I don't blame him. That was, hey, I would have been jealous too. You know, like
Probably a
somebody-
long haul trucker, I would imagine.
Yeah,
I don't know.
could be,
Yeah.
could be.
Hitting the road.
So yeah, that's the only real fight I think I ever got in. Besides some disagreements I've had with my boyfriends in the past,
Right.
but never any like super violent things. But
That eventually led to a sexual encounter.
Again,
Yeah,
violence and
yeah,
sex
definitely yeah.
intertwined.
Yeah.
You
Very
know, there's
closely
always
related.
there's two sides of the same coin.
I had we had a little almost scary situation last night at the movie theater. I went and saw Inside Out 2. Beautiful film.
nice.
We were right about to the end of it, so didn't get that interrupted. But the alarm went off in the theater and the screen shut off.
The fire alarm?
It was just the flashing strobe lights and an emergency sound, and then
What?
a PA automatic recording was like, "You're hearing this message because of an emergency situation in this building."
Wow.
And then we were like, "Fuck!" Aaron was with me, and I was like, we were both just like really startled. Everybody was just like, "Okay," like we're like active shooter.
Yeah, that's
mass
the
shooter.
That's
first thing.
right where
First
our
thing.
minds
Yeah,
went, and
of
I was
course.
like, "This is crazy. This is what it feels." I mean, because literally that shooting in Aurora years ago, like in
I feel like a lot of
multiple
shootings have happened
movie
in
theaters.
movie
This is
theaters.
at the Grove, at the nice theater, and so it was fine. Apparently, there was maybe a little talk as everybody was exiting the theater that it was like kids that like pulled the freaking alarm or whatever. So. But that was
Pesky
scary. That was
kids.
reality. That was like, whoa.
Wait, and was the movie over? Did you finish?
it was just about to end.
Did they refund you?
I don't think so. It was half off Tuesday, and I'm an AMC member, so my ticket was already paid for by my subscription, and then I bought Aaron's for like, I don't know, like $14 or something. We basically saw the whole movie. There was probably like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
It was wrapping it up. The story had come
Got the
to
gist
us.
of it.
Yeah, you got the picture.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
No pun
But I like the Pixar films usually have little Easter eggs at the beginning.
That's
or at
true.
the ending,
At the
and they
end,
have
right?
the little,
Yeah.
they have the
show
little-
fake bloopers, like the cartoon
Yes.
characters
Yeah.
messing up.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Inside Out was really, really good. It was really good.
It's crushing.
Yeah, it's
like doing
$700 million opening weekend.
Ka-ching.
That's crazy.
Highest grossing opening, I believe, of all time.
Damn.
For maybe Pixar, or maybe, I don't know, ever.
That's wild.
Well, bully for them.
So I had therapy this morning. Everything's going fine.
Zoom
Just
therapy
fine,
or,
or-
It's Zoom
in person?
therapy. It's going good. It's Zoom therapy. I got a therapist a year ago to figure out what was wrong with me. Turns out
Nothing.
a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. And because I haven't had therapy since I was in therapy for drug rehab years ago for meth. And that was like 2013, 11 years ago.
College.
Yeah. And now I just, do cocaine. No, I'm just kidding.
On the weekends.
On the weekends.
No big deal.
But yeah, I was in therapy years ago, and so got back on it. I've been single for about a decade, pretty much. And so going from 25 to 35 is
That's a big growth.
it's a big growth period. And then I've met, as you guys know, I'll tell the audience, Aaron 2 years ago, and there is just everything, everything checks all the boxes, right? And then there's this bit of intimacy side of myself that struggles, where I think a lot of people relate to this. Like, we want to chase after someone that's unavailable, someone that, and especially I was talking to my therapist today about this too. For a cis male, whether you're straight or gay, or whatever part of
Is
the
cis
spectrum.
not straight?
No, cisgender just means you are inherently male.
You
Like,
identify with the
with
sex
male
organs that you were born
Right.
with.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Got it.
you are a cisgender male, as am I. You know.
I am cis as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am a cisgender male. You might say.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there you
Did
go.
just come up with that?
Trademark.
Oh, yeah.
Just now.
All right,
TM.
that's a good one. Yeah, there's a clip for you.
So we were talking today that I think this really probably hit with a lot of people. I mean, male in general is just, you know, there's not a lot that separates a gay man from a straight man other than who you like to have sex with, right?
Right.
We all have that same little drive that's like, you know,
Got
women
that
like to joke about.
testosterone roaring.
Exactly. And there's a bit to us that, you know, wants to seek that thing that's unavailable or something that you can't have. That's attractive for, I guess, both sexes.
Yeah.
Shiny
Or all
objects.
sexes. Yeah.
Off in the distance.
Yeah.
You can almost grab it. It's
Yep.
right there.
And also, with I think another element to being a gay man is, or any queer identifying person that has had the experience that I have growing up, where you had to kind of overcome that oppressive state that you were in, whether it be a rural conservative area or religious upbringing or whatever, where you have to vie for your acceptance, meanwhile hiding who you are for half of your life, or however long it takes someone to come out. In my instance, it was 16, so more than half of my life now. There's that we want to seek pain. We want to seek someone who's going to hurt us, who's going to abandon us, because that's what we've known in the past. And so
Heavy.
getting over that, as well as just that male drive to find that next best thing. We also live in a social media culture where you're just completely consumed with, you know, hot people all the time. And, you know, oh, what if I could have this? I wonder what the life would be like then, when it's hard to settle sometimes. And it's actually, settle on something that you're happy with, not settle for
Right.
someone that's like, you know,
Mid.
I'm giving. Yeah, exactly. And so when I've been presented recently in these recent 2 years with my friend, boyfriend, partner, every cycle that we've been through, and breakup or whatever, and then reconciliation from there, has been challenging for me, because there's while the emotional instability aspect is there for me, I've struggled with my promiscuity, my sexual desires at times, and just overall commitment. And I mean, that's not all to the story, I guess, but it's the last couple of people before meeting Aaron was narcissistic tendencies, avoidance, not all the way there in terms of what they have to offer,
But well
or
hung.
just didn't like me like I liked them. What did you say?
But well hung.
Very well.
Just for the record.
You know, perhaps, yeah. I mean,
I've seen enough.
I've seen
to
it.
know.
We all know.
Yeah.
They're well hung.
Brennan has provided the evidence over
well,
the years.
I mean, and who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't enjoy that?
Sure.
I mean, you know,
Definitely.
Speaking of, well, we can rotate. We could circle back to that. Benny,
the show
you wanted to talk.
Have
about.
you heard of the show
Naked Attraction.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Do
Yeah,
you
Brennan,
know?
we talked about this like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
wildest show ever. I was saying to Brennan that show would be better. They got to get boners. You can't. They
gotta get boners.
If you're going to
They-
judge the men, you can't just be judging flaccid penises.
Yeah,
That's
they
that's-
look
It tells half
weird.
the story.
I mean, I'm
You know?
in the gym, and so you see.
I'm in the gym working on my penis. You know, squatting.
You
know,
see
bench press
wieners
with my
in
penis.
the gym
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Usually
But-
old men. I
Yeah,
find.
but I guess it's because
Yeah.
you're not really looking at them, but like looking at them in that show a lot of weird looking wieners out there.
I think flaccid penises just look weird in general.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
There should
but
be,
like extra
there
weird.
should be mandated boners if you're going to get judged.
Yeah,
I would
mandated.
demand to have a boner.
Well,
Like, I'm
and
not
I
going
was
on there
also
soft.
wondering, like, how are they not getting boners?
See, we
Well,
talked about this. I
I
think,
bet that studio is cold.
Yeah,
and I
there's a
bet-
million people. There's probably 50 crew
Yeah, it's
members.
a lot of
you know,
pressure.
And you
it's like-
know that
It's a nervous boner environment.
Yeah,
you
right.
know that you're going to be seen by millions of people on TV, and but it's very interesting. I would hate being on that show because grower, not a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And when mine looks like a little button that you can press when you.
That's what I'm
through
saying.
my
It's
shorts,
unfair
Press
to
to
judge
activate.
people.
Yeah, press to activate. And sometimes lackluster results.
Right, sometimes it's not
perhaps,
going to
when
activate.
pressing.
You know?
Sometimes
Yeah.
not active.
It has a
Yeah.
brain of its own. You can't just tell it to
You don't
do
know.
this, you do that. You know?
Yeah, no, it has its own mind.
Yeah.
As in Ren Fair, what does dude call it?
George. His
The king has a name for his own penis.
Yes, he
what
did.
he call it?
I can't remember. Ren,
He was
shout
like-
out to Ren Fair.
Yeah, everybody watch Ren Fair. Just a
HBO.
3-episode.
Oh my god.
Little docu-series. Really wild characters. Very entertaining.
Yeah, I forget what he calls it. Yeah.
But he was basically saying that.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Mind of
let's
its own.
sketch the early bio here because there's a lot I want to get into
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So, born in
Yeah.
Kentucky,
Dixon, Kentucky.
right?
No pun intended.
Population. Yeah.
Dick's on.
No dicks on there. Turns
Have you ever
out.
noticed in West Hollywood there's a lot of gay affiliated street names? There's Dick Street,
Yeah.
there's Ramage Street,
Ramage?
and then there's Keith Street, all right in a
Keith.
little, which just is, I don't know, this
Keith's
is unfair, but a
it's
name
good
I
gay name.
associate
Yeah.
with queerdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, there's something about West Hollywood. It's like they knew. when
They
were
knew.
naming
Well,
the
I mean,
streets.
early on when the city was incorporated, I think it was a well-established like gay community.
Oh, really?
You know,
That
yeah.
soon,
I mean,
yeah.
West Hollywood has always, I think, traditionally been that. I don't know if it's the first technically like incorporated city that, besides maybe San Francisco, like
Right, yeah.
Castro District was like obviously
The gayborhood.
The gayborhood, yeah.
Wow, it's a long way to go, though, from Dixon, Kentucky to WeHo.
Yeah. Went from Dixon to then University of Memphis, where I met Benny, and stayed in Memphis for 12 years.
12 years,
Still
wow.
have a house there. Still have a condo there that I keep, and still go back a lot. Love it. Going back there soon, actually, next month.
What's your
to visit some
favorite
friends.
thing about Memphis? What did you always love about it?
I loved having. I think early on it was really nice to explore my artistry because coming from Dixon, I was really just a pianist before I moved to Memphis, and then that kind of unlocked my artistry in a way. And then there's just such a, I mean, like there's this in every city, I guess people can relate to, or people in our industry probably have, but there's such a tight knit music community there. It is a smaller city, obviously, so you're going to get that there.
Also, everywhere is kind of small.
Yeah.
Even though LA
Yeah.
is like huge, New York's huge, you find these places are also, there's only so many degrees of separation.
Well, there's not that many musicians.
Yeah,
That too.
Especially
Yeah,
when
that
you
too.
get into your 30s, people start dropping out. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, this doesn't pay?
Right.
I need to become a coder.
Yeah.
There's
Well, that's about to be gone too.
We've lost a lot of people to coding. a lot
coding's
of good
about to-
musicians.
yeah.
What?
be
There's
out
something
the
wrong
window.
with the coders?
No,
Well,
just
just the
AI
AI
is
is gonna
about to
take over.
come.
You don't
AI.
need
take all that
Boo,
out.
I don't think so. They're
Yeah.
totally overpromising. This shit ain't gonna work. You saw McDonald's fucking already canned their AI ordering system after 2 weeks.
Wow.
Who knows how much money they spent to like get this AI ordering.
It is
system,
very expensive
and
still.
it didn't fucking work at all. They canned it in 2 weeks
Yeah.
because people were getting bacon flavored milkshakes and like 100 fucking ranch sides.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
talked.
I have a feeling.
I talked to
Snap.
a robot the other day. I could tell on Grubhub, and I hate Grubhub. I'm never ordering on them again. I get it because it's free through your Amazon Prime, so it takes away the delivery order
Right.
fees.
The 25% fee.
Horrific. Horrific. First incident was in Nashville a few weeks ago. I ordered Taco Bell. Okay, whatever.
This podcast loves
I
Taco
can't
Bell.
believe you're getting Taco Bell delivered. Oh
I
my
did.
god,
I
that
did.
is dire.
It was late. It was late, and I was at my friend Alex's house, and I was like, I'm hungry. And to be fair, there was a big storm that came through, so it was raining kind of heavy for a little while. It was 2 hours wait.
Oh no.
Ugh.
And
Cold, fast
the
food.
poor guy, it's like, it's hard to pull in. Like, it's hard to find the driveway on the GPS for Alex's house, and so I was trying to like communicate with him. It's probably English second language, I'm just guessing, and it was a hard communication barrier there in a way for a minute, and it was pouring down rain, and he like delivered it, and it was like so cold. I ate that shit. I heated it up in the microwave.
Of course.
And it was
Ghastly.
disgusting.
You're building up the anticipation
It
over
was
those couple
I
hours.
think this is
thing.
more
It
the
was the
self-hatred from
worst.
being raised
I
closeted.
might as well
you know?
been. I might
just trying
as
to punish
well-
yourself now.
I might as well been gotten in the bathtub and just rubbed refried beans all over myself. Yeah, that would have been better because that was how it felt to eat it.
Yeah.
And
Damn.
and then the other night I ordered from a Chinese place that was, I'm sad to say, 3 blocks from my house.
In West Hollywood?
Yes.
Was it Kung Pao Bistro?
It was Kung Pao.
I fuck with Kung Pao Bistro.
I
Yeah.
don't.
Really?
I'm done. I'm done with them. And shout out to them because the girl that called me after my driver was coming down Laurel Canyon. I guess probably ran into traffic and had to cancel. But my thing is, this is Amazon running this company. I'm like, can you just get another driver real quick if you know that this is taking so long, and then just compensate the person for their time then. And
Somebody
then
get Jeff on the phone.
somebody get Jeff. Yeah.
Does he have social media? It's like you never see him tweeting.
Probably not.
Right?
No,
Yeah,
he's just
right?
buying up all the world's
Yeah.
most expensive real
Just
estate.
whatever house is next to his, just get the next one over.
Yeah.
Just like invading Poland in
And so
1933.
the girl at the counter, she called and she was so sweet. She was like, "Hey, did you order?" And I was like, "Yes, I'll be there." I was like, "I literally live around the corner. I just was being lazy at my house, and it was like your delivery fees are like cut or whatever for the thing." I was like, "Just let somebody else do it. I'll tip them." So I gave her like $5 for staying late because she stayed like an extra 10 minutes. They were supposed to close. She had her like bag on whenever like I went in there to get my food. And it was like 25, 30 minutes probably it had been sitting there. And it just wasn't good. And I threw it in the air fryer when I got back home.
Air fryer is a
great, cool
miracle
story,
worker.
bro. Anyway, Chinese food, hard to find good Chinese food.
I know,
It's
in
true.
LA,
It's
it's
true.
weird.
It's
true.
There's got to
You
be
can-
more Chinese folks
You have to
in
go
LA.
further east.
Yeah,
You have
San
to go
Gabriel
further
Valley.
east. Yeah.
That's what everyone says. I've never been out there, but I've heard the food's really good.
There's
out there.
better Chinese
But
food
it's
out
weird
there.
because New York, every single corner, like there's a hole in
Yep.
the wall Chinese place that's
good.
great.
It's good.
Good
And
Chinese
then-
food in
yeah.
New York, but no Mexican food in New York.
No,
Let me tell you
clearly
this.
not.
I ordered the orange chicken the other day. Not a go-to for me. But it was all right. But the chunks of chicken that are like this big that they put in orders, not for me. I want the tiny diced, little fried, little chewy, little
Popcorn.
minced. I want the popcorn,
popcorn
minced,
chicken, yeah.
You know, don't give me the almost tender because then when you bread it, it just slides off that thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
And then when you do the fried chicken entrees, that's not the grilled slices with sauce. You lose if it sits out for any number of time. If you're getting it delivered, as you know, guarantee it's going to be a little soggier. I will tell you, however, the best fried chicken that we have is actually up the street from me in West Hollywood. It's a chain, BBQ Chicken.
Oh, we went there. That's really good.
Fire.
Really good.
Never heard of it.
Fire.
Gold Tongue? Have I taken you to Gold Tongue yet?
No.
The Korean fried chicken
No.
place in Koreatown?
Oh,
also
I
next
may have
level.
had that though. That
Yeah.
name sounds familiar.
That place is good up the street from you.
BBQ Chicken, shout out, and Carol will hook you up in West Hollywood. Her dad owns the place, and they're really nice people up there at 8000 Sunset. Shout out, give them my approval. I should have ordered from them the other night. I don't know what I was thinking. Let's
get 'em.
Yeah.
Get them on the pod.
Let's
Do
get 'em
you
on.
guys? I haven't had this in many years, but I was just in Minnesota, and this is the place to get it. Do you guys fuck with White Castle?
No.
No.
Good God, no.
No.
I love
Well, Benny.
White Castle.
Well, Benny, you're a trash panda. We just went to Joshua Tree, the three of us, and Benny. My plan was every night. Okay, we did a writing retreat for 3 days, which we got some great stuff. Really, really had a good time, and then we're thinking about dinner every night, right? We cooked our breakfast, and we go to nice restaurants at night, and then Benny on the way there was like, there's a steak and shake.
There's a steak
Yeah.
and shake we just drove by.
and so we
also
were
hadn't had steak and
Yes.
shake in like 20 years.
And I had your other favorite, Sonic, the other day. In
I
Nashville.
didn't get
Oh
to
my
get Sonic.
God, you
'cause
guys
I
are
got
doing
Steak
the
and Shake.
tour.
They have gone downhill. I think I'll give them
Where
another
did
shot.
you have? Oh, in
in
Kentucky?
in
Oh, okay.
Donaldson,
Yeah.
in Nashville, next
Okay.
to Alex's when I got in.
Yeah.
It was later, and I needed some food. I always fuck with the mozzarella sticks. It's
You can't fuck those.
it's
up.
just
Yeah.
the frozen
Yeah.
ones that they drop in the thing, But then the popcorn chicken has gone downhill. It used to be so good. It's mostly batter that you're biting into, and not the chicken bits.
We're
Well,
going
we
to talk
talked about-
we're going to talk about
We're gonna
fast
talk
food. a
We
about
lot.
talked
a lot
about
of
how
this
you said you love
fried chicken on
Popeyes,
this
and
podcast.
Popeyes used to have great fried chicken, and they clearly got bought by somebody and started spending half as much money on the ingredients because the chicken is so rubbery and bad now.
I have to try
used
it
to
again.
dig
It's
it
been
on
a long
tour and
time.
stuff.
I'll go there for a biscuit, though.
The biscuits. Oh, I used to eat like 5 biscuits and
I'll
go to
get
sleep.
me a damn biscuit.
It's like taking Ambien.
Yeah.
Eat five buttered biscuits and then just pull the covers over you. That's a whole day right there.
I like to rub the honey on my tits and then
Right.
set the biscuits
I
right there.
bet. Yeah, I'm sure Aaron's very into it.
Sounds delish.
Wait, okay, so you started on piano.
Yeah.
We need to brush up the Bayek here because
Yeah. Yeah,
I
this
want
is
to
a
know.
bio episode,
People
yeah.
demand to know.
Yeah.
I know.
So when did you start piano? 5 years old?
I was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did Suzuki level piano, Suzuki method, Japanese method. That I don't even remember how it works, but my teacher that I had for like a year or so, she was really, really great. Suzuki's kind of, it works for people that haven't learned to read yet too. It's like good for kids too. It's just really just like repeating sounds and rhythms and stuff. And then quit for a few years because I did gymnastics and learnned to do a cartwheel.
Nice.
It took me like a year.
Whoa! Holy smokes!
And,
then he almost just destroyed a camera.
Oopsie.
We're good. We're good.
Did
back in it.
did a cartwheel dance for a little bit in Melissa's dance studio. Shout out Melissa Hust, who was my instructor. And then in second grade, I got back into piano and got real serious about it.
Did you want to like play piano at age 3, or were your parents like you should play piano?
Mom noticed I would go up to our piano and hit the notes and sing the tone.
So someone already played piano in your house.
Mom played piano. She was forced to do piano until she was like 16. And I have some of her old books, and she got pretty damn good. Like, I think mom definitely has some artistic ability. My mom loves to paint now. She's really great at art. That's her pastime, and probably wants to get back into piano too at some point. But she got pretty good. And so she sort of could recognize that I had musical ability. I was like able to just like sing the tones at an early age, which may not be a necessarily indicator that you're going to be a great musician.
Right.
But
I mean,
you have an ear.
Relative
kind of.
perfect pitch.
Yeah.
Is that what that's called?
Perfect pitch.
I
No,
don't
or
have
relative perfect pitch.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
someone
have
like-
perfect pitch.
Yeah.
I have relative pitch. I memorized the tones of a guitar.
Yeah, you told me you could sing an A.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect pitch.
Perfect's if
I'm
you
so-
can like hear all of
Yeah.
them.
So you can
The
sing
people
a
with
B
perfect
flat.
pitch can
Yeah, like
do
I
like
do not have perfect pitch.
multiple
I have relative
notes
pitch.
Right,
like
yeah,
at a time. It'll take me a second, and
Fucking show-offs.
and I also have to think about an A first, and that's relative too,
Right,
because
and
I'm
move,
going to
right.
sing an E first, and then I'm going to go to B and then A.
Yeah,
Right,
relatives
yeah.
like if you can like base it off of another note.
Right, yeah,
Like if
gotcha,
you have
yeah,
one reference, then you can figure out
I'm
where
really
you
good
are.
at this game that I like to play with my musician friends, especially Alex and Nicole. Shout out Alex and Nicole. They love to play this game. Actually, they hate it because I'm really good at it. But like a song, like any song that I am familiar enough with, I can usually like hum first note, like or be in the key when I'm singing it. So.
Name that tune.
We should do some ear training right
Name
now.
that note.
I'm
We
could
gonna
do it.
go
Yeah,
play
yeah.
some
Yeah.
intervals and we'll
There-
do
but
a little test.
I know I'm relative pitch because I'm probably maybe 20% of the time I'm a half step off. So
Right,
I'm like almost there. So sometimes it just depends. Yeah. And then so took piano in second grade and then never stopped from there. I had a great teacher early on. She was my music teacher at Dixon. She was the music teacher at the school, and so I took private lessons from her. Fun little Brennan anecdote. The first lesson that I took with her, I came into her house and I said, "You look like Mrs. Doubtfire."
Not really a compliment usually, but
And she
I don't
goes,
know.
"Oh, thank you. I haven't heard that one before."
Was she British or Scottish?
No, but she I can see where young me would have, would have gotten that.
Did she have huge
the gray
heaving
hair.
bosoms?
She was a tall woman. She was a tall woman. Is a tall woman. And she's shout out Faye. But also hope she doesn't see me.
And a handsome woman.
Stuff and everything. She's a handsome woman.
She's not listening.
But no, she's lovely, and was very integral to my growth as a musician. The biggest thing that I will say that propelled me into where I'm at today was she knew early on that I had the ear that I had. She also taught me how to read music, but then it was very helpful to me because she would give me sheet music from the radio or movies or whatever, and I already knew what it sounded like, so it was like a picture to me reading it when I learned to read music. So I learned rhythm in a way that was almost visual in a way to like soak up the notes on the page like that. I already knew what the feel was going to be like, so the rest of it was just learning that shape of and then that's sort of early on how I learned to improvise a little bit, because I'd read the chords at the top too and sort of cheat instead of looking at exactly what's on the page like you would do in classical music. You read every single note. And so that was early on great, what led to my future in music directing musicals or playing at church or things like that.
Right. And what were you into musically? Like, what did you want to play on the piano?
I wanted to play jazz.
Wow.
Like very early on. I didn't have any access to any like good jazz instructors growing up.
It's not jazzy in Kentucky?
It's not jazzy in Kentucky necessarily.
Bluegrass.
Well, where
Bluegrass
I was
dominant.
at,
Right?
Kind of jazzy.
Is that jazzy?
Country jazzy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not jazz,
Right,
but
yeah.
like there
It's improv-y.
is some overlap. Honestly, some bluegrass, like some really good bluegrass bands.
It's technical.
They rip.
technical
Those mandolin
stuff.
players are like all over that.
They're
shit.
all over the
It's
place.
like it's redneck jazz.
Well,
bluegrass is redneck jazz.
So I only had really access to, and later on in my, so Miss Faye moved me on to Miss Tidd, and Miss Tidd got me pretty far, and then I outgrew her from what she was able to teach me, and then sent me to Sandra Botkin, R.I.P. Sandra was a wonderful instructor in my high school years that really like honed in on the classical stuff. And that's where I got a scholarship to the University of Memphis, paid for my school. I chose Memphis because I got a full ride.
when did you know you wanted to do that for your life?
I don't think classical was ever in the cards for me in terms of like this, I'm going to play for an orchestra or whatever. There were many more hours I would have to have put in as a kid to really be at
Then like
that
practicing
level.
that much.
Yeah. I did a lot of practicing in high school and in college. I was, as much as I partied, I still put in, there were some days I put in 3 to 5 hour days practicing, which is intense.
Seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then fast forward to college, I'll go one back. The biggest influence for me to like finally see the world out there was I got into this program called Governor's School for the Arts that is in a lot of states. I think most states have a scholar program and then there's an arts side of it.
It's like a state-funded
It's a state
program.
funded. Arkansas may have it. Tennessee has it and Kentucky has it.
Put
I
the
know.
music back in the schools.
Yeah.
Music back in the
So
schools.
it's an audition process that you go to that's statewide, and you can go for creative writing, acting, music, instrumental music, vocal music, theater, musical theater, drama, all of those concentrations you can go into.
Band camp.
It's band camp
Right.
for individuals.
Do you go and like stay somewhere and like
You go
in a
and
little
stay
dorm
at a
room?
college campus,
Right,
so
uh-huh.
it gives you that. It's either your junior or senior year you can qualify for it. I qualified my junior year, I think. Yeah, and then it was a big deal, big to do. I actually went to Governor's School with a couple of people that are now famous. Kevin from the Pentatonics.
Oh, nice.
He was a cellist, a concentration there. So we were both in the instrumental music, and I mean he's big shit now. Yeah.
What's pentatonic? I don't even know what that is.
They're that
Pentatonics is the-
acapella
yeah.
like quintet.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Mhm.
Really, 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 really famous.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Take your word for it.
Yeah. So Governor's School was awesome. I was not out yet. I had a girlfriend there at the time, Sarah, who I met that was in the acting concentration, brilliant actor. And that was very eye-opening to me to come together in the state with people from other places.
Fellow artists.
Bigger cities, Cincinnati area, Louisville area, Lexington area, a little more liberal centers of the state.
Right.
I came alive there that summer. And then it was that summer actually shortly after I came out. Because
It was all clicking.
It was all clicking.
Did you come out all at once? Did you like some people know before, or was it like, did you have a party?
Well,
Invite all your closest family and friends.
My friend at the time, and I don't hold any grudges at this point. It's been years. My friend outed me, and
on the internet or
no, just at school to a few people, and then the word got out, and but it was honestly, I thank her for it because it was like. It needed to happen, and all my friends were like, "Yeah, Brennan, we know." Yeah, like,
Brennan?
so,
No,
yeah,
what? The middle linebacker on the school's varsity football team?
Literally before pep rallies
Couldn't
or
be.
like school spirit days, we would have these parades down the hallway, and I would be leading it with my accordion playing the fight song.
Wow, you can play accordion too.
I can play accordion.
Damn.
Yeah, it kind of translates with piano.
Yeah,
you just have to learn the buttons, like what chords.
and you got to pump it, right?
You got to pump it.
Do you have to
which
pump
I'm
it
good at
on
that.
beat, or can you just pump in general and it's fine?
You say what now?
Like, do you have to pump it on beat?
No. So as you're depressing the keys, it's allowing the valve to fill with air.
Right.
So if you didn't have anything pressed, you can't squeeze it.
Right,
Or there's
okay,
a
yeah.
button on the side that you can just let the air in and out. So as you're playing the notes, it's allowing the air to pass through.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, just gay as Christmas,
Right.
marching down the halls. But yeah, she outed me. Also, I think we told this. We may have told this on another pod that's upcoming with some
Tell it
people that
again.
but I'll tell it again. She also was responsible for me being expelled. Well, I was responsible for what got me expelled, but no one would have ever known.
Right. I remember the grade changing.
I changed
thing.
my grades in the school computers because
Dastardly.
I was trying to up my grades a little bit in order to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And it was incremental. It was so minuscule that was just going to bump me up from like a 3.1 to maybe a 3.5. Okay.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. Because 3.5 GPA was like the minimum for a lot of schools, right? And I'm dumb. So,
I don't think that's
didn't
true.
apply myself at the time. I did better in college than I did in high school.
So when you were going to college, like who could you imagine yourself being? Like fantasy level music career? What
Yeah.
were you thinking was possible, or what you
I didn't
wanted
know
to achieve?
yet. I honestly didn't know. I thought I would be a movie star. Like, because I was
Were
like,
you acting also?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I did a lot of theater in college.
It's not too late for that.
It's not
No.
too late. No, I mean,
Definitely.
I'm actively going to be auditioning out here. I mean, why not?
Yeah, get it.
You have a face for the big screen.
Thank you. Where's I going with that? Yeah, I did a lot of theater in college. Also did a lot of music direction for both professionally and for college. Benny was in a couple, played drums for me.
Were you
orchestra.
in musicals in college, like acting?
I was in musicals, and I was also in the pit as well at times for certain ones. Award-winning music director, I might add. I
Wow.
won an award.
What were the
for
greatest hits? What were the highlight shows?
greatest shows that I did that I enjoyed doing? Fun story. This was during the meth phase. I was in a little musical called La Cage aux Folles, which is those that might not be familiar with, is the musical adaptation. Or that came first. The movie adaptation of that is
The Birdcage.
The Birdcage.
Yeah. Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane.
Hank
and
Azaria
Robin Williams.
doing pseudo brown face, little bit aged not so perfectly.
And I lit up the stage. We were working with this like amazing director who actually her name was Mitzi Hamilton. She was the inspiration for one of the original characters written in Chorus Line.
Wow.
So she's a sort of a little Broadway lore, legend in a way. Was a famous choreographer, and so she came as a guest choreographer and director for this show. And she was a hard ass. And I am not, it takes me a while to get choreography in my body, right? That's my least able skill when it comes to
The triple threat.
to going to the
Least
stage.
of the triples.
I can sell it when it's in my body. I can sell it like I'm a dancer.
Right,
It
yeah.
just takes me a while to get it.
Gotcha.
And there was tap in that show. I was a tap dancing drag queen. And one time in particular, we were struggling with the energy of the show. And she kept getting on her asses. And I was getting kind of fed up with it. I was like, I feel like I'm giving this all I got. So I gave it over the top performance at one of the rehearsals. And I was whacked out. And this was a dress rehearsal. And I like didn't know how to do makeup. I still don't really know how to do like stage like that kind of makeup. We were drag queens, so I was like, well, my character's just going to be a methed out whore. So, and I got pictures. I gotta show you guys. I just would rouge the shit out of my cheeks and then just smeared like blue like eye stuff. And I was just like
Street lady.
Oh, I was fucking going for it, just like, you know, she kept saying like, give it more energy, you know, and then in the notes, I would just went over the top that day, and I will admittedly say it was over the top.
But
and
did she dig it?
It notes that day, she was like, had her little notepad, and she was like getting down the notes to everybody, and she goes, Brennan, stop. and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like really high.
Yeah. I
And-
can't just stop, okay?
Yeah. I was like, well, you said give it more energy. She said, enough. And I was just like, okay.
Right.
But anyway, that was a highlight show. I was high for most of the performances, probably.
Highlights.
Yeah. And it actually kind of worked with my character. You know, she was a little hooker.
Right.
You know. And
You're cast well.
yeah, I also did Bye Bye Birdie. I was Conrad in Bye Bye Birdie, which happens to be the lead
Star.
I was the star.
Look it up. I was the lead.
That was a really fun show. That was really great. And then I also did this show called Title of Show with several of my friends. It's a musical about people working on a musical. So it was like
Meta.
sort of a meta sort
Yeah.
of thing. And there were 4 characters, and there was a lot of acting and music involved in that. That was a time for me to really shine. I'd love to get back on the stage at some point.
Yeah.
It's just never worked out with being a musician because I make my living doing gigs all the time. And with a theater schedule, you're going to be rehearsing for 4 or 5 weeks and then doing a show for another.
Yeah, stationary.
And then you don't hardly make any money. And I make way more money being a musician.
Right.
So if a time came along where I got in this really cool project, I'd probably put some things on pause and see how it goes. But acting career has kind of been on a side, you know,
On
hustle
ice.
basis, for a while. Done a couple of commercials here and there. You know.
Nice.
So we'll see.
What were the commercials for?
I did a commercial. Most recent one I did was for Sasquatch gloves.
Whoa. I know of Sasquatch deodorant.
Yes, different.
Same company?
Sasquatch gloves are like a steel toe boot almost for your hand.
Whoa, like uncrushable gloves? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it was really funny.
You're like a hand model.
It was filmed, and I've also been a hand model before. Fun story about that for Hardee's Carl's Jr. Don't think I ever got on the air with it because this was years ago, right before I was about to move to New York in 2018. I finally got booked with this agency in Memphis. I was always probably too queer or like not rough enough looking for the market down there, right? And so I finally got this thing. It was a hand model commercial for Hardee's Carl's Jr. handling the burgers. Big shit. It was going to pay $10,000.
That
Nice.
fast food money.
Yes. And
That's a lot of burgers.
It was SAG eligible too, so it would have been like more checks if they aired it more or whatever the deal was.
SAG does have it pretty figured out.
Yeah.
SAG's a good union. AFM,
They've been around.
AFM, not good.
I don't even know
And
what
Benny
AFM
is contractually obligated to say this.
Federation of Musicians. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Musicians Union.
I didn't even know there was music.
It's
Yeah, I've been
shit.
missing out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not.
I'm not missing
They're
out.
not going to do anything for
Is
you.
it for pop musicians or is it only for like session classical people?
No, it's for like recorded
Giggers.
music.
Yeah,
Like.
Yeah.
But compared to SAG.
Also, I
it's
got to
like-
take that word out of my vocabulary. You can't say giggers.
Giggers.
That's a
No.
little close.
Real close.
Dangerous.
A little
Yeah.
close.
Gosh. Yeah, not good. A little close. I said it recently. Somebody's like, "What did you say?" I was like, "Oh, like gig people who gig.
People
Yeah.
who gig.
Frog
Those
giggers.
that gig.
Frog giggers." Now you put that in front of it, which I do have lots of stories about. No, where were we going with that?
Let's
Killing
go with the
frogs
meth.
on the
I want to
side of
hear
the
about
street.
the introduction of meth into your musical journey.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
would you say it helped you or would you say it hurt
I'll tell
your
you
music?
this, and this is not an endorsement for meth, nor will there ever be. But something about it and the coating of the throat and maybe the adrenaline rush that you get from it, it's almost like a steroid. So I was Celine Dion on a couple of gigs.
Wow.
Not going to lie.
8-octave range.
The downfall of
Celine's
that...
having a rough moment.
She's having a rough
not doing
moment.
well, yeah.
Sadly.
And we'll talk about that in a second. She's about maybe the next episode I'll have an update. Her documentary's out. The downfall of that was horrifying despair and wanting to kill yourself.
Right.
So bad trade-off.
Yeah. How long could you stay high for? Like, were you sniffing the stuff, smoking it, shooting
No,
it?
I've rarely ever sniffed it. It burns like hell.
Yeah.
It's just smoking.
Right.
Towards the end of my addiction, I had a friend that liked to shoot up, and I did do that a few times.
Right.
And it was amazing
Yeah,
for a little while.
shooting up, man, there's nothing like it.
And
Don't do it.
I was like, don't do it. Yeah. I was like,
Go listen to some straight edge punk
what
rock.
the
Yeah,
hell
be like
am
Benny.
I doing? Like, what, It
Very
finally
dangerous game to play.
It got to that point. Okay, so we'll start at the beginning, and then we'll go to how it ended.
When did you first
try?
try it?
I first tried it with my then boyfriend that I was getting to know, and
College or?
this was college. This was my senior year of college.
Right.
And
21?
Yeah, I was 21, I guess. Yeah, and he was a hunk and a half. I mean, it was like I was in love. He was 10 years older than me at the time, too, or 9 years older than me. So he was like 30. I was 21.
Hot.
Yeah, it was great.
When you're in your early 20s, a 30-year-old?
Yeah. Ancient.
So old.
Totally
So
like
old.
different
So
generation.
old.
Yeah.
But he was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're
like-
hot, you're hot.
Yeah. And I was consumed. Yeah. And so I learned that he liked to do this thing recreationally. It's not recreational.
Recreation.
Yeah.
Just recreating a little on the weekends.
Yeah,
No big
which
deal.
pours into Tuesday. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And
And when he brought it out the first time, were you like immediately like, yeah, let's go? Were you
I
scared?
was down for it. I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid to try anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was scary. My mom had a career in the court system, and she regularly was in drug court. And also from where you grow up, where I come from, everybody's trailer trash that does meth.
Yeah.
This was not the case for me. I was doing it with doctors, lawyers, important people that some of them may or may not have been elected positions.
Whoa.
Let's get
I
some
won't-
names.
I
Name
won't
the
name any
names.
names.
Bring 'em
I
out.
won't name any names. And I'm happy to report that I think most of the people that I ever associated with in that circle have since left that life. So
Yeah.
It was a phase.
Yeah, it was a phase.
How long of a phase are we talking here?
I have. Well, for me, it was 3 years.
3 years.
It got pretty dicey pretty fast. I was going in and out of like, what is this? What am I doing? I mean, I was so young. I mean, 21, you're so impressionable and like.
Oh, yeah. You don't know shit.
And meth takes over your mind. Any serious drugs like that rewires your brain.
Yeah.
Like, it literally rewires your brain. So you cannot see a way out of it. We would go out all the time. I was still doing gigs, but to horrifying lengths of like bouts of depression and days where I would not speak to anyone else, be in my house with Domino's pizza, the only thing I would eat. Like,
I do love some Domino's. Dylan
Domino's.
hates Domino's.
Dylan
Domino's.
hates
Don't even
Domino's.
say that word.
I know.
Yeah.
And
make the whole
Dylan and I
podcast.
have different tastes in food.
Yeah, I think we just make the whole podcast fast food debate. You know,
Yeah.
fuck it. Shut
That's
everything
gonna come
down.
out in
revamp
every
it. Let's head
podcast.
over to whatever churches or
Yeah.
I don't know Chick-fil-A. We'll just shoot from there.
The first time I ever did it, I was so sad. I think probably because I was like depressed that I had done this hard drug.
Right.
Which up till that point in college, I was just like doing shrooms and like drinking and occasionally doing cocaine or whatever, which everybody fucking does in college. Not everybody,
Yeah,
but
not at Liberty University.
not at Liberty. Yeah. But I enjoyed for a time partying and getting into all that. And it was very isolating, though. It was very cold. And I remember, like, friends of mine sort of probably knowing that I was doing it, but not really that concerned because I was just bubbly Brennan all the time. You know, it didn't seem like I had a problem or an issue. Fast forward to about a year or so into the relationship, I learned that I am HIV positive. Not from shooting up drugs because I hadn't gone there yet. And then learned through my partner's behavior and reaction to the situation that something was amiss, and also recalling, oh, I haven't had sex with anyone else, so what?
Well, how did you learn that you were HIV positive?
I got really sick. And I could not get out of bed. And I had a job at the time. It was like a little sort of internship job. And I will never forget the day. It's tattooed on my wrist, 5/27/11. You can't see it on the camera. It's like in white ink. I got really sick, and I was not going into work for a few days, and then that was Memorial Day weekend, that time period. I was about to go to the lake to visit my family. I had a work lunch with the company that I was working for at the time, and the first person I ever told that I was positive, Lauren, she was the receptionist. I'll never forget this. I was the office clown. That was really why I was there, just to make everybody laugh. It was morale boost. And I would always just shoot the shit with her every day. It was literally Jim and Pam relationship. I'd just go up to her desk and, whatever. And we get to lunch, and I had been feeling bad up to that point, but I had kind of got it together. We order lunch, and I get a call, and it's my doctor, and I was like, oh, I got to take this. I was like, we were trying to, she knew I was not feeling well. I was like, maybe it's mono or something or whatever. I'd never had that. Tells me in the parking lot, you've come up positive for HIV. And I just like sank into the floor. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm literally feeling that right now, just like going back into that memory. And I went back inside and had to enjoy lunch with like 25 people.
Wow.
And I sat beside Lauren, and she was like, so what'd you find out? And I just looked at her square in the face, and I was just like, I'm HIV positive. And she laughed out loud because I'm a jokester. And then her face, she saw my face, and her face just went like completely deflated. Yeah. And she was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And we just had to enjoy lunch the rest of the day. And then I went from there to my parents in Kentucky. Didn't tell them yet. My best friend Daisha and Jessica were coming to the lake to see me. I told them immediately that weekend. I told them that I had been using meth for like a year.
Wow.
It was a
weekend of revelations.
It was a weekend of revelations. And that's how I've always been. Like, if something's wrong with me, I just like blab it out to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's what got me through being positive and dealing with that. And that at that point in my life, it was so like integral for me to just tell everyone. Even however people's reactions were or thoughts were on my lifestyle or whatever, it didn't matter. And
Gotta have your community.
Yeah.
Support system is key.
And back then it was kind of still scary a little bit. This was 2011. PrEP was just now coming onto the market. We didn't really know about it yet, or if its efficacy, I think at the time. It may have even not been out yet. It was starting to maybe. So there weren't any like prophylactics for HIV yet. It was just starting to be in the trial phase or whatever. So the biggest betrayal I've ever experienced in my life was that, because it was my partner. It was my boyfriend at the time. Turns out I uncovered a lot of dark shit from others who had been infected by him. Friends of mine that I knew that had slept with him.
Wow.
And it was this, I've never fully gotten to the bottom of it. But there was this obvious denial that he had, and did not confront it, nor I don't think ever got a formal diagnosis of it, because he wanted to sweep it under the rug and deny it.
Right, yeah.
But every single person that I know of that is positive that has slept with him is positive as shortly after an interaction with him.
Wow.
It was really heartbreaking, and I did not speak to him from that moment on. Once I put 2 and 2 together and realized that, like, oh, hey, dummy, you haven't done anything else, and you were tested before. The biggest tell going back when we got together, I said, hey, let's go to the center and get tested so that we can not use a condom,
Yeah.
And it's because I was still being careful back then, pretty careful, with my, you're young, I had a few scares before, like, ooh, don't want to get sick. And he didn't show up that day. Mm-hmm. And I sort of saw that as like, oh, he'll get to it later or whatever. I'm fine. So, and that was the first tell that I went back to in my mind. It's like a movie montage, like where everything comes to the front. All of a sudden it was like, oh. And then I found out this little detail. Oh. And then I talked to his ex who was positive. Oh.
Yeah.
And then I found out my other friend that I did theater with, when I voiced that I was positive, he came to me privately at a party and was like, hey, just so you know, we slept together like while you guys were broken up, and I just found out that I'm positive. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bingo. So that was just like mind fuck early age.
So how do you look so healthy and robust today? Like, what do you do? I mean, you don't appear sick.
Well, it's because I'm not.
Yeah.
And if you take at the right age of an infant and extract their blood and then inject that into your veins, or either orally, drink it, it does wonders for the skin. So
infant blood.
That's what
Wait a minute.
Well, that's what the Democrats do.
Satanic rituals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the key to the fountain of youth.
No. So for our listeners that maybe aren't in the queer community or adjacent, or maybe not know, and a lot of people don't know this. A lot of queer people may not know this. The advances in HIV treatment have been monumental year over year since the early 2000s, late 90s. They invented in the 90s a cocktail drug that was able to hit it from many angles. HIV's smart. It attaches itself to your DNA. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to target that when everyone's DNA is a little different. It reacts differently to certain people's body. It's smart. It finds its way around things.
Yeah.
That's why so many people died of it. On the other side of it, you can also live really long in certain cases if you're healthy otherwise. I've known people in my life that were much older that lived through the 90s with HIV and didn't learn their diagnosis until decade or more later, and are still living today.
Right.
So it just depends. In my case, I got sick really quick because I was using meth. Mm-hmm. And so I was just ruining my immune system all day long.
Yeah.
And not sleeping, not sleeping alone will make you sick. Like,
so do you have to take a shitload of pills every day?
Nope. You used to. One pill a day.
Right, 1 pill a day.
Now they have an injection that you can get every 6 months.
Wow.
And not take a pill.
Convenient.
You also have the extra layer of protection with what's called PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Right. I've seen the TV
which
ads.
you see on TV all the time. Straight people are on this too. They can be, because now that we've had this awakening of gender identity and sexuality and stuff that we're coming to in this age, a lot more people are coming out by realizing they're bisexual, and so it's important that everybody sort of know about PrEP, because if you are going to have sex with someone that's bisexual that does have sex with men, HIV is most common in men, But there are a lot of people, injectable drug users that have it. There are, I'm sure, some bisexual women or bisexual men and women that have it as well. But there's no risk. I'm what's called an undetectable level. That means that there's such a low amount of virus in my blood that even without protection, any normal person's immune system will fight off that infection.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So even if someone else was not on PrEP, it's fine. And I say this all the time because, or I say this, what I'm about to say all the time, because there's still people that are afraid of, being intimate with someone like
sure.
me with my diagnosis, and that's understandable because it's been stigmatized, and the information on it has been still back in the 90s in some people's brains today. I do not have AIDS. AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome. That is what HIV causes if you don't take care of it. It lowers your immune system to a point where you acquire a syndrome that it cannot recover to a state that it once was to fight off infection. AIDS does not kill you. Pneumonia kills you when you have AIDS. A cold kills you when you have AIDS.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So you don't have any white blood cells left.
Yes.
Right.
And so I say this to people all the time. First of all, go get tested regularly, please. Know your status. I go regularly, as do a lot of people that I know. There are so many medications out there now that can help you. Not only that, there's DoxyPep now. Turns out you can take doxycycline after a sexual encounter. It eliminates the risk of gonorrhea, syphilis, and chlamydia by like 70-something%.
Wow.
I have a friend who's like kind of a big whore. No, not slut shaming.
I have a couple friends who are big whores.
Not slut shaming here, but a friend of mine has been on it for years and is a pretty nasty girl.
Right.
He's a guy.
Yeah.
But has not had an STD in like eight years since he's been on it. Yeah, it's very
Love
impressive. So just throwing that out there, and then where was I gonna go with that? Oh. For people that are timid about someone that has a diagnosis like that, like HIV, if you're being treated and I'm undetectable, you are safer having sex with someone like that is undetectable and knows their status and takes medication than you are
A complete unknown.
a complete unknown.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Unless you can show your paperwork, hey, I just got tested and I've not messed around with anyone else.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally.
Just saying. Think
but
about
even that
it.
requires an element of trust because it
There you
could have
go.
been like 12 hours ago or something.
Yeah. So it's disheartening in a way because there are still, like, when I've been on the apps before and stuff, and like people see I'm honest about my status. Have to be. What was done to me is reprehensible.
Right.
So like I'm never gonna lie to someone, or keep that from them, even though I could literally not ever tell anyone in my life, and they would literally be at no risk
Right.
because of how close an eye I keep on my health. So anyway, fast forward.
So that was in college also.
That was in college.
Damn, eventful college years.
I had eventful college years.
Eventful life.
Eventful life so
Yeah.
far, yeah, and it's been great, and I'm healthy.
And this is when you two started. When did Rockosaurus, the party band,
Rockosaurus
start?
Rex.
In college?
In college,
it was
2009?
It was this same time. I remember playing a gig, being over at Brennan's house before, and he was getting makeup done, and he had just started dating this guy.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about it, and I think I even remember hearing about this like casual meth usage. But
Yeah,
I vividly remember being in your kitchen, and then we went and played that gig, and so yeah, it was all right around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was doing it for quite a while. We broke up in, I guess it would have been it was 2011.
The band or your
No,
and
I'm
your
sorry.
partner?
I'm going back to my relationship at that time that we were speaking of. Shortly after I discovered and put those pieces together, I was like, oh my God, I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
You're a monster. And I learned that even past then that he was still
fucking around.
doing the stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all. I went to my friend's office who is a lawyer to try to press charges or whatever. I'm glad I didn't in the end because I shortly after got over all of that when I realized that, I'm going to be okay.
Right.
Picked the right time to get HIV because, any earlier than that, it could have been dodgy. And I went to his office to try to press charges. I don't even remember ever being there. I have the receipts on Facebook Messenger from talking to him and coming to the office. I was probably just so out of my mind at that point that I've blocked that out of my memory. I guess the result was probably that there was never a formal diagnosis so that you couldn't press charges.
Right.
Right? If you don't know on paper that you have it, if you can't prove that, then
Right, you have to, like,
you can't
court
because it's
order
illegal.
him to get
it is
tested or
illegal
something?
in Tennessee. You can be prosecuted for criminal exposure to HIV.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wacky.
So that got out of that. I met Corey shortly after that. My friend, now still friend of mine, that we dated for a number of years, who was, I'll shout out, so lovely, and like it was a tumultuous relationship because I still was using, but was really there for me, and is still a friend of mine today. So shout out Corey. We actually went together on a cruise ship for a year. He was a performer at the time. He's from Memphis, singer, and was in an a cappella group that would like do like little pop-ups on the ship and had a little featured show or whatever.
Barbershop quartet.
Dylan's favorite.
Yeah, my
Barbershop
favorite.
quartet, yeah.
I love those red and white striped
Yeah, we
suits
didn't
they
do
wear.
that. He didn't do that, but it was
Wait, so you
dressy.
were a singer on the cruise ship
Okay,
also?
so he actually, we met, like, and he was about months later going to have to go back on another contract. And I was like, no, but I'm in love. And he was like, well, let me hook you up with my agency, and we'll see if you can get on my ship. And so I was shooting for a piano bar, because piano, singer.
Right.
They do piano bars on the ships. Turns out I didn't get on that first contract with him, but I got on a Carnival ship, and it was like a wild ride, and it was so fun. I had like the time of my life for 6 months in the Caribbean, met a bunch of friends that I still have today. We did the long distance thing where it was so awful. We had to like pay a bunch of money to like call
Satellite
from ship to
phones.
ship. It was like, I missed him so much. And then we got the news that one of the a cappella people were dropping out, and I could join.
Wow.
And so then we went on.
Just as a singer.
Yeah. And so I joined just as a singer. It was the easiest. The piano bar was a lot of work. It was like 13 days on, 1 day off.
Wow. Damn.
Which you're only working like 8 p.m. to like 11 p.m. every night. So it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad. I mean, you just had to work every day.
That's a long
at some
set,
point.
though.
Long set.
Yeah.
Cut my chops up doing that gig, though. Had to learn songs every night to please them. If they were going to come back the next night, learn that song for me,
Right.
And
Free bird.
yeah, I knew that one. Yeah. But that was actually like so good for my career and entertainment skills, just to be able to read a room, handle a crowd, handle heckling sometimes too.
Yeah, would you chat? Would you
Chat with
like
everybody.
banter and stuff?
We played games. We would do these like little guessing games where people would write shit on their forehead, or I would put something on my forehead, and I'd play a song, and then I'd like guess a clue. I'm like, okay, am I a Disney character or whatever, just stuff like that. I would learn to like, let's add another element to this. Like, let's have a fun game to it. And I still am in touch on Facebook with the cruisers that I met. They, in the cruise community, they like love to like latch on to like their favorite entertainers, the people that go all the time on the cruises.
I'm famous on cruise ships.
I'm famous
They
on
know
cruise
me
ships.
there.
Yeah. No, yeah. So that was a short stint. I just did 6 months of piano bar, and then I got on Corey's ship, and man, it was just awesome. It was like being in love in that moment of my life, and actually not being on drugs at that point, because we're on a cruise ship. I didn't have access to, get drugs or whatever. So I was really sober for a year. And, but I traveled with Corey from Alaska all the way to the bottom half of the southern hemisphere, all the way around to Australia, New Zealand, and Asia in 6 months.
Saw the world.
Getting to see the world with someone that you were like really close to and share a cabin with was awesome. Now we still fought like cats and dogs.
That sounds
sometimes.
romantic.
But yeah, it was really romantic. It was.
So what
really
would you
cool.
wear when you were singing if you weren't wearing the red and white
Just
suits?
a button up, yeah, but a button down and a jacket.
So no tweed hat or anything.
We didn't. It wasn't like the
Twirling a cane.
Yeah, we would do some pop music too, like
Yeah.
sort of Glee style, stuff. It was the easiest gig. We would show up for 15 minutes 3 times a day to like the coffee lounge, the cocktail bar, whatever. We were on also, the first contract that I had with piano bar was Carnival. Shit show, drunk, everybody's drunk, whatever. The second contract was with Celebrity Cruise Lines, which was it's owned by Royal Caribbean. They're like a luxury tier of cruises.
Platinum status.
Platinum status, yeah. No kids, generally. There was no kids.
Right.
Older crowd, generally. Some people even lived on that ship, like full time or year round. So it was a really cool experience in that it was a little more elegant thing. But I got to see the whole freaking world in a year's time and came back to Memphis, moved in with Corey, had ambitions to move to New York at that time. This was 2013. It was not really ever in the cards for Corey to relocate, and that was not okay with me at the time, and I wanted this to work, and then I picked drugs back up. And it was at the end of the year, I was coming home for Christmas, and my dad just knew something was up. You can't really hide how wacky and strung out you get once you get kind of deep into meth,
right.
And it's no more recreational, which it wasn't really recreational from the start. It would definitely pour into my week.
Were you doing it like every day?
I'd go in periods where I'd just sometimes I wouldn't have money for it. I'd
Right.
just be like, all right, well, I guess I can't. But yeah, I'd go on a bender and then I'd take a few days off because you build up a tolerance for any drug when you do it regularly. And so it wouldn't be as effective, or you'd have to do a lot more. And that was when I started shooting up that year when I got back.
Cheaper.
It's cheaper.
I mean,
Yeah.
Initially, it's
Yeah.
cheaper, and then it's not cheaper.
Wild
at all.
ride.
Yeah.
And so my dad went through my bags when I went home for Christmas, and I immediately threw my hands up. I was like, yeah, you got me. I was like, I'm done. This is a meth pipe,
Right.
They didn't know what it was. I could have probably it's weed, hash oil, or whatever, No. I was like, yeah, it's meth. And my mom was just floored. She was like, what? They didn't know what to do. We went to a rehab center the next day in Evansville, Indiana. They were like, yeah, let's get you into treatment. They scheduled me for an outpatient rehab program in Memphis. That was great. I didn't do the 12-step program, not shitting on that, but I'm not a religious person really. So I didn't want to do the whole God thing intertwined in your, thing. It's worked for a lot of people, but luckily it was a science-backed program where you had a psychiatrist every day giving you basically a school lesson about how your brain works and how your brain literally is rewired when you unleash all your dopamine and receptors and stuff all the time, and norepinephrine and all that sort of stuff that's released in your brain. So it was really eye-opening. It was 3 months outpatient, 3 days a week. At least I had to go at least 3 days, which I did. And I never looked back.
And that was
never
it?
smoked meth and used meth in any fashion since 2013.
Wow. Congrats.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work, Bren.
Yeah. Don't have a desire to either. I mean, once you get far enough about and you rewire your brain, you go, this was awful. I never want to feel that way again. Goodbye.
Yeah, I'd rather play pickleball.
I'd rather play
know what?
pickleball.
Yeah, I'd rather get in bed at 9:30.
Yeah.
So really
that was my drug journey. To this day, I'm not going to admit that I'm entirely sober. I enjoy psychedelics sometimes, and I've learned a lot about myself through that. There's so many people that will probably hear this from Kentucky and be like, "He's whacked out in California. Oh my God, and the liberals."
Well, you got to fit in out here.
You got,
You're not going to get any gigs if you're not
But
doing something.
I have learned so much about myself and been closer to God
Celine Dion.
and Celine Dion. In amazing ways. And I firmly believe it is my stance. I think that everyone should at least do mushrooms or something at some point in their life. And Dad, Mom, if you're still listening to this, oh my God, I hope you're not. But this is not a regular occurrence to me, nor do I think that mushrooms are like a party thing. I mean, sure, you take them if you want to go to a music festival or, go sit in your backyard, go be in nature. And tell me that you are not a changed person after that experience, and in the best way. And I believe that I have more compassion, more empathy, and more understanding of myself and the world around me because of those experiences. I have this message of sort of not all drugs are bad. I mean, we take pharmaceuticals every day, and people are fine with that.
A lot of us, yeah.
Where I actually believe that some people could be off some of their pharmaceuticals if they used the plant medicine that we have today.
The only thing I would say about the shrooms and hallucinogens is, I think my piece of advice would be, if you're feeling really depressed, if you have schizophrenia in your family, if you have a clinically defined, mental disorder, whatever, personality disorders, I think that's kind of dangerous territory.
You should be supervised.
Right, yeah. Because, I have seen it gone wrong with people, with heads full of acid and not really coming back fully.
I've had,
so it's not like it's total free range, anyone. But I do find, Rory Scovel, that stand-up special, he said, I went to church every Sunday for the first 18 years of my life, and I've taken mushrooms 5 times. Guess which part I got closer to God with? So I have to agree. I mean, I never was a churchgoer, but I do feel like a more deeper connection to the universe when you're on mushrooms, and it just expands your mind. I mean, it's cliched, but that's
Well, you let go of grief.
Yeah.
You let go of people. You forgive people. You forgive yourself.
And wanting, I feel like, is significantly reduced. Envy. Wanting what others have, being unhappy with where you are in your life. I think it puts a lot of that stuff in perspective that can be very healthy and helpful.
There are some times where it has been a little daunting, where I've gone into a little negative things, and the negative is always my existential being a musician.
Right.
It's what am I doing with my life? It's a lot of pressure from my past.
Yeah.
And along the way where parents or other people are like, well, what are you doing? What's next? How much money are you making? How much money can be made with this?
Always.
It's just like,
oh, dude, that is such a common music. When you tell people that you're a musician, professionally, people who are not unfamiliar.
Do you do that full time?
They always want to know, is that your real job?
Yeah.
And then,
yes, it is.
It's like they almost want to look at your tax return.
Yeah.
Like how much money do you actually make being a lounge singer, being in a band, being a producer,
Yeah. And by the way,
really
don't look at my tax return.
People, a lot of people just can't fathom it. Cannot understand that it is real and can be real. But obviously, as we know, it's an incredibly difficult game and road to walk down.
I've gone through years of definitely success and then pretty plummeted. But lately, in the last, 7 or 5, 6 years, it's been a steady growth of year over year being more successful. I started my own wedding corporate band situation, because those are things, not every, but a lot of professional musicians make a living doing gigs like that. And so for years I've sang for other organizations, and I just decided, I still do that, but I decided to make my own during the pandemic. I was like, how do I get out of this? How does music come back? Whatever. And that's been successful. And then I've always, for years, I've been, doing gigs, and that's sustaining enough for me to get by. And then I freelance on everything else. Benny and I make music. I've helped him make music for some projects on TV, and I also will take whatever gigs there are. It is possible. You just can't. You got to commit to it, and you got to stay
go do
in it. You got to stay in it.
Yeah, nobody's gonna. That's the thing, is you are an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're forced, because nobody's gonna give you anything.
Yeah.
You have to go and get all of it.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And just with a regular job, it's, people, the infrastructure of working with a company, it's people will bring you things to work on.
Yeah, the system's in place already.
Whereas if you're a music maker, there's nobody doing that.
Yeah.
You have to go do that for yourself. And that can be really exhausting. And I think that's why most people eventually are just no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Coding.
I thought about it. I spent the pandemic. I was in New York from 2018 until 2020 when COVID hit. And I realized, I was like, I got to get out of here. And I moved to Kentucky to our lake house and spent a year in the woods. And I was like, well, real estate license, or I don't know. This was the saddest part of COVID. I in Catawba, Eddyville, Kentucky is where our lake house is. Kentucky Lake, land between the lakes, Lake Barkley. It's a tiny town that's mostly active in the summer months because of the lake. I went to the Verizon store there because I was just there for the long haul, as it seemed, until while we figured out COVID. I didn't even get a call back to work at a Verizon store.
Well, a lot of these places you put in the application, then you have to follow up. Like,
I did.
Or they could
and I have a college degree.
Yeah, so they probably thought you were overqualified. I mean,
That is a
sometimes they
thing,
think
too.
like you're
That
just
is a
gonna
thing.
like quit as soon as
Yeah.
something better comes along.
for
or,
sure.
I don't know. Or maybe they're running some kind of weird organized crime front and don't want outsiders in there. And they're just pretending to hire.
They were suspect.
You never know.
I would have been more engaged if they were. I'd been
That's
like,
true,
"What?
yeah. I
You
coulda
want me to
helped
sell
out.
drugs? I can
Yeah.
do that." Yeah. But that was a devastating time, but I got through that, and then have now been more successful, than I ever have.
Blowing the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay,
and-
but we skipped one. We're talking about writing songs for TV. I want to go to TV because you were on a TV show.
I was on a TV show in 2018. This was when the career was like going, okay,
Exponential.
very much edging, and then COVID was like, meow. And
COVID did that to a lot of people.
I was on Diddy's show, who
Diddy.
is having a bit of a resurgence.
No shout out
Yeah.
to Diddy. Let's
This was
not shout
obviously
out.
prior.
prior,
Scandal.
well, not prior allegations,
Yeah.
but
He had already
blowing
made
up.
his whole making the band crew
Yeah.
walk to Junior's in Brooklyn to get him a slice of cheesecake, which when I saw that, I thought that was kind of a red flag. I was like, what?
going
I
to
don't-
Junior's.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you really need to walk like 5 round trip miles to get your boss a slice of cheesecake if you're trying to be a music artist.
Yeah.
I don't really see how that applies.
Yeah, a little problematic.
Yeah.
I was on a show called The Four that was short-lived, and
How'd you get it?
Two seasons. Well, my friend Nicole Boggs, who is a songwriter friend of mine, actually co-written a couple of songs with her from Nashville. She was on season 1, and they asked her, "Do you have any people you'd recommend?" And she recommended me, and I got straight through.
Nice.
And we had the same producer working with us to handle us. Shout out Will. Will was great. Also a gay guy from the South, so we got along great. As soon as we picked up the phone, I was like, "How you doing, hun?" And
Did you have to audition? Did you have to go somewhere?
I
or-
didn't really.
Wow.
No, I mean, they saw videos of me already, and they were like, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." The episode that I was on was your audition, sort of, because it's a judged panel of shows. So they had people of all talent levels on there. There's some that weren't really that.
Because you got to
great.
bring some people to laugh at. Also,
yeah, and it's not. They weren't bad enough where you would laugh at them.
Not
It was
William
just kind
Hung.
of like, oh, okay,
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe
So
not.
they didn't have like a William Hung, like pure circus.
No,
act.
they were the show. I did appreciate the show was the concept of the show was you had to be a working artist.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't an American Idol thing where like I'm a baker and I
Right,
sing
yeah.
sometimes. So
Where'd they shoot it?
they shot it here at CBS Studios, I think. CBS, yeah, in Studio City, and so that was a great experience. I did well, and I was on one episode. You had to knock out 4 other singers that were on the chairs. They were like sat in a chair and watched your performance. So you would do one performance. The judges, which was Diddy, Meghan Trainor, and DJ Khaled, would judge you worthy enough based on your first song to challenge the 4.
Right.
When I was brought out, there was only one person left that I could challenge because the other 3 had been challenged and won their seat back. And it was this rapper named Sharia J, and she was nice enough or whatever, but a lot of people dogged her after my performance because I will have some confidence in myself. I clearly won that.
You should have
episode.
won.
Yeah.
Recount.
Well, it was.
These shows are a production.
It is a total production, and I got to see firsthand the workings of like the little chess moves that everybody makes. Right?
Yeah.
They know when they're going to pull you out. We both had sob stories. Oh, HIV, drug addiction, and she was battling cancer or a cancer survivor at the time. So we both had our kind of
Human interest stories
that sort of aligned. We were both around the same age too. I believe she was around my age, maybe even a little older. But she like got in my face, and when she did her song, because you have to stand there while they're giving their re-performance to battle you out. And
rap sports.
I looked like a little fucking dork because I just smiled. I was just like,
you're doing great.
You're doing great. And I like still clapped for her and everything. I was trying to be a good sport, right? Which I am. Like, and ultimately the audience voted for her. She was the incumbent. Always hard to beat an incumbent opponent, right? I did hear, and I'm probably not supposed to say this, but my producer did say that the votes were extremely close. It was just they had to almost be like.
Does the audience vote, or is it
fudge
just
the numbers a little bit?
The audience votes. So
and
it's not
at home, they text in.
No, it's a taped show.
Oh, okay, so the people who are sitting there.
People were sitting there. It was a 500 seat audience probably. I thought I was like, I'm gonna get this, probably. My second song was not. I did "Let It Go" by James Bay. The first song I did was 500 Miles, which was my arrangement,
which there will be a recording.
Yes, we're
coming
gonna
out
finally
soon
release it.
Probably
be
on
the
the
summer.
lookout.
My second song, had it been a little more, I don't know. I thought I did okay on it, and it was fine. She had a high energy rap, battle, that kind of thing. I really think it was unfair to have rappers and singers on the same show. It's kind of
rap plays well into the sport America
battle
competition.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm not knocking it. It just I feel like it should have just been a vocalist, instrumentalist, whatever.
Segregate.
I mean,
music is what I would say. White people to one side, black people to the other side. You make your own music and no mixing.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
no mixing.
Yeah.
I do think the whole I mean, I get it, and I'm people will definitely disagree with me, but I do honestly think the whole rap battle, Kendrick, Drake.
It's so stupid.
It's so goofy. It's you guys
It's
are
silly.
some grown men
Almost 40 years old. Drake
rapping
is
at each other.
It seems like Kendrick's hated him forever. From the beginning.
It's such conceptually, it's so goofy.
It's a reality
to me.
show in a song is what they're trying to do.
Yeah, right.
But I get it. It's they're making crazy money.
off of it.
So I totally get it. But it is but because it's also oh yeah, it's supposed to be this hard thing. But it's theater-y. It's it's theater kids. I just think it's goofy.
I have no regrets from the show. I think.
What do you get paid to be on the show?
It was $500 for the day. Every day that you worked, it's a SAG rate.
And you worked one.
I was just there for one day.
Right.
They actually flew me back out to LA for a comeback episode because they were going to bring some people back that were the favorites because one of their contestants was going haywire and was threatening to quit, and so they were like, we might need somebody to replace them, and I was one of the first calls. I have no regrets for the show although I will say it would have been really nice to win because I think I would have smashed it and continued on. There's a friend of mine, Vincent, who's a pretty big artist now, who almost won. I think the first season is a pretty big star now, or up and coming. He's doing great things, and he's an incredible artist. I feel like had I had a little more opportunity to show myself and grow my following on that platform, could have done some cool.
Could have been a contender.
Could have been a contender for my career being a little bit bigger right now, but that's okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Because we're still making music and we're still doing our thing.
You're just where you're supposed to be.
Just where you're supposed to be.
And did Diddy try to touch you?
Diddy, I never got close to.
Not even
it was
close.
It was only that.
But was he leering at you?
The distance that you see us at on the set is how far I got from them. I never interacted with them until I came out there and they interviewed me, and then I sat down at the piano and gave my 500 Miles performance, which I was you see me in the show, I put my hands on my face. I'm literally after I finished, I was like, okay, this is what it feels like to be a superstar.
How nervous were you? Yeah, were you flipping
I was
out?
freaking out.
And you're clean and sober at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I was on I think I took there's a drug called propranolol, which is the
blood pressure
beta
thing.
blocker.
Yeah,
That helped a lot. I also just had a little pep talk with myself behind the stage. I was before I went on, I was this is what you're meant to do. Go out there just like this is any gig that you're
Whip
doing.
it out.
And whip it out. And I did. And I was oddly calm when I sat at the piano. I was like, I took a beat and then I heard the Adam Blackstone, who's the music director, huge deal. I heard the click and I was like, okay, here we go. We're starting. All right. Just cool, calm. I think the performance was pretty good. There's always nerves that are involved. So there's, could I have done it a little better? Probably. But they made me sound pretty good in post too. I think they clean up a little thing. They make it sound like really good, like a good, they do that on all the live shows too. But I was really pleased with it.
You can find it on YouTube.
You can find it on YouTube. The other thing that I was really pleased to see was, a lot of people get a lot of hate or, online or with their videos, people judge you. I have barely maybe seen one handful of comments of people that just didn't like me. The rest of, and these are even channels that I have no part of that have posted Bubba. My video. But there are other channels that posted my video that I'll go in, I would read the comments and see what people thought of me. And it's resounding positivity. Like they loved my story. And this is another thing I'll throw in there too. Like my dad didn't really understand why for a long time I shared my status and my drug addiction.
Because you talked about it on the show.
I talk about it on the show.
Right, yeah. And
the night that we watched it at Benny's in New York, my phone it wouldn't work because there were so many notifications. First of all, text messages from people that knew me, but just like Instagram and Facebook was like exploding, and to the point where I couldn't operate my phone really well. And I screenshot. I still have probably back in my library a bunch of screenshots from people that I will always go back and look on when I'm feeling bad. It was so many people that were like, "Oh my God, I just got diagnosed," or "Oh, my mom is a meth addict and she struggled for years," or whatever the stories are. And I was like, wow, there is such power in speaking out about your problems, because these are two major stigmatized things that I've carried and done in my life, right? And the amount of people out there that suffer with drug addiction, or that still have people to this day that know I'm out about my positivity, about being positive rather, and I still help people today, just in private, just oh, cool, you're gonna be fine, do this, whatever, it's all good. And I think at that point, it clicked with my family, especially, that was sort of uncomfortable with that, which is understandable. How big of an impact you can have when you kind of are able to tell
your story,
get on TV.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I actually auditioned for America's Got Talent this past year. I got hit up by the producers. Sometimes I'll get hit up by shows or whatever. They're looking for talent, and I was like, all right, let's maybe do a redo. We'll see how I do. I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, because I really don't want to follow a juggling act.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more
feels
kitschy.
a little cheap.
Knife throwers.
But America's Got Talent has the biggest viewership
big
of
ass
any
audience.
show.
Yeah.
Would have gotten a lot.
Would have gotten a lot.
Again.
So, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm kind of all right. I was impartial to it, but I fucking killed the audition that I went to. The producers were like, okay, cool. I think honestly, I didn't get a call back for the actual show because I was maybe a little put together. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of
too verifiable.
Fully realized artist, just and I told them straight up, I was like, I love your show. I love watching. That's the only talent show that I actually will watch, because it is a variety. It's not just singers. I don't actually watch the singing shows really that much. But I was like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'm using this for publicity, and
you touch my wiener, I'll touch yours.
You touch my wiener, I may let you. Yeah,
good deal.
So,
that where are you at now? What is music like? What are you up to these days with music?
Truth be told, it's been since COVID, and maybe even a little bit before that, and the downfall of the the aftermath of shooting this high on the TV show, and then we released a project, my first like kind of debut solo project outside of stuff that I'd done before in Memphis. I have a whole other record that I released years ago called Free in Memphis, but we took this different approach. We were going really, really poppy for a little while, and now I'm kind of going back to my roots. But I sort of had the hiatus that I had, which a lot of artists had through COVID, and I was like, I don't know, still making a living doing gigs and weddings and court and gigs, whatever I would do. And now since I've moved out to LA, it's been like, okay, we can do this. Like, this is good. This is cool. I have a great, like, not only you guys, but such a great support system out here. And I am currently working on a new record that is really kind of coming together pretty good. I actually was texting with Benny yesterday, like, I think we have like a good amount to start choosing like staples for a new record. I'm really honing in on like what we did before when we released Make It Work in 2018. It was really just kind of an experimentation of like kind of throwing shit out there like, okay, this is a really good song, but I'm not sure that I relate to this. Like, what do I do best? Oh, sit at the piano and sing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Some of the instrumentation or the workings of some of the pop songs or demos that we've done in the past, I'm like, this is a really good song, but is it me? Is it all the way me? And the answer is yes in a lot of it. It's a snapshot of who I was in that moment in time. But now I feel like we're really getting into the grit of like, every song that I can sit down and play and feel, and if that makes sense. It's just like I'm really connecting to where I'm at, and the things that I write and the things that I come up with. And really, it just at the end of the day, I've had to kick my own ass for years and go, just get up and write some music, you idiot. Like, stop worrying about if it's going to be good or bad, or you've got to be this, or it's got to sound like that. And that's been really freeing. And then our recent writing retreat that we all three took, which I can't wait to share what came out of that, really reinvigorated and go, okay, we can do this. Like, what am I waiting for? Like, as an artist, I've never really been on a major tour. I've done a lot of cool stuff, but like, there's so much left for me to do. And the message also that I'll put out there is you are not too old. In fact, the more experience that you do gain, the better I think you get. There's this fallacy that in this industry that youth is obviously celebrated, and social media is a tool now that everybody uses. And I know the younger generation is going to be ultimately better at that. But really, when it comes down to it, good stuff is good stuff. And
people will always want to hear something really captivating and real and authentic, and something that just makes a listener feel something. People will always want that, and that can come in an infinite amount of forms. But there really are no rules. It's really just about figuring out, like you're saying, like who each and all of us are and what makes us who we are, and staying true to that and telling our own individual stories and following that instinct and just being real. And obviously there's all the practice and all of that goes into being able to make something that people feel and connect with. But at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. And I saw a great clip of Noel Gallagher from Oasis, who everybody who knows me knows how obsessed with Oasis I am, and the Gallagher brothers. But he was basically saying, like, the consumer didn't want Jimi Hendrix, but they got Jimi Hendrix. And the consumer didn't want whoever, but they got them. And, like, the consumer doesn't know what they want. You make it, and the consumer takes it, and they like it. And what they like is what is authentic and real and true and taps into the real human experience that we all experience. And that's all that matters. And the business today is so, and this is the point he's saying in the video, is like the business today is so, let's please the consumer. We need to please the consumer. We need to pander. And that's probably why most of the stuff today really doesn't have much shelf life, because it's directed with
what's current,
with
trendy.
different goals than the things that we all can think of as legacies. It's a very different. They're very different agendas.
Well, and Dylan is you guys are you and Ursula are so good at like showing me new music, but I'm like, I like to listen to like kooky like 60s jazz all the time. So I don't know actually a lot of new music, but and there's a lot of great new music out there, but like what's really the mainstream and the most consumed, I'm completely like turned off by. Like I don't really fuck with it.
Not
but,
a Taylor Swift fan?
I'm not going to say anything bad about Taylor Swift. But you hit the nail on the head there. For years, even when we were making Make It Work, I feel like, especially me, I was trying to go on that trend of like, what can we make that's going to pop? And it's like, no, stupid. Why don't you write what you want to write? And then people will connect with it more. And it turns out that works.
That's all you could do. If you try too hard to do any one thing in the creative process, it's like it's going to be much more difficult to make that work than, I mean, you can like work within limits and still make something real, but like if you're it's like I talk about this all the time. It's like you go into 99 out of 100 songwriting sessions in LA, it's all gonna be just wrought with overthought, with trying to intersperse the ego, all of these things that ruin a creative product. And that's why most of these things that get made in these rooms like never end up seeing the light of the day or even leaving that room from that day. It's just because it's so separate really from what the real creative process is, which is really just channeling, just allowing things to flow and to sort of just listen to that and be in tune with that and allow that to be what it is. Whereas everybody gets so, it's just, everybody just overthinks it, or not everybody, but that's a generalization. But so often things are just way too overthought and just there's way too much ego involved, and not even ego in the sense of like arrogance, ego in the sense of like, oh, I need to manufacture this. And it's like, no, you just have to let it happen. And you let it happen by being yourself and by being open.
Yeah.
And so often that gets distracted from. And I think most of the time it's out of fear. And I get it's scary to be vulnerable and open and creative and reveal who you really are.
Yeah.
But dang it, it's worth it.
Yeah, like it's the only way.
The only way I've ever been able to like accurately judge my own songs and stuff is like you got to try to give yourself goosebumps. You know, if you can get that chill going through your body, and literal goosebumps. You know, I feel like that's like the good meter inside of you. You know, and the more you can get to that moment when you're listening back to something you made, like that's all I really go looking for. You know? And you got to impress yourself. You know that's who your first audience is yourself.
Yeah,
I had that moment the other day. I wrote a really cool song the other day at the piano, and I was like, oh yeah, it's nice when you have those moments because like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, and then monetize it as much as possible. As
yes,
soon as you get it. Get the goosebumps.
That's the next step.
Then commercialize, monetize, collect all the pennies.
Yes,
different process.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
another discussion.
I feel like we talked about. I don't hate anything. I guess we spent a lot of time talking about drug addiction and my diagnosis and stuff like that. And while I will say that that's been a large part of I guess some of the juicy details of my life that people are interested in, it's like I've been asked before about regretting or, oh, that must have been so hard or horrible. And while it was a horrifying time in my life, I guess, I would not, of course, everybody knows, we can relate to this. I would not be the person that I am today. And in fact, the twisted, weird thing is that I don't regret any of that happening because I would not, I think it's actually rounded me out into the person that I am.
I forget who I heard say this, but they said what you think are the worst things to happen to you at a moment, most of the time are the best things to happen to you.
Jesus, I think.
Yeah.
Or Muhammad. Well, one of those two. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or Rick
one
Rubin.
One of the dudes.
Was it Rick Rubin?
No, yeah. I've seen a lot of
Be
people
yourself, man.
carrying his book around lately. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been a good year so far, and I cannot wait to release some of this new music. It's going to be very like adult contemporary pop alternative with a little bit of country indie stuff in there.
It's just going to be some real ass
shit. Kind of cool. Yeah, and we're getting back to like kind of like just real live instruments too, which I think is not done as much today. That's kind of cool.
Some real old music.
Some real good old music.
Good old
I've been going to the
tunes.
lake a lot this summer where I spent COVID and where I grew up as a kid, and that has really been fun. I bought a jet ski.
Big news.
And Rick, my 13-and-a-half golden retriever, is now sitting in Nashville awaiting my return next week to go pick him up and take him on the jet ski because that's his favorite thing to do. We learned in COVID that he loves riding.
He loves water sports.
Well, he loves he loves getting wild. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll go on the tube. We'll go on the jet ski. He loves getting on a boat, jumping in the water. So I'm grateful for him to be around. I shipped him out to Nashville. He was on a little journey with some strangers for
He's made a cross-country trip a couple times.
Yeah, that's his second time crossing the country there. Well, and then he's lived in New York. He's lived in Beverly Hills. He's West Hollywood now, and Nashville, and Kentucky, and he's
Rick
been
is
in Florida.
definitely a old Beverly Hills guy.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So more updates on that soon as we go about the summer. But yeah, excited for new releases. We got to talk about that, Benny. We got to get some stuff going and moving.
Yeah.
So very excited for new stuff coming soon. And yeah, I guess everybody will learn a little bit more of me as the episodes progress, and then I think next time we'll wrap this one up, I guess, today, and the next time we'll talk to Dylan.
Oh,
Get ready, Dylan.
We call it the Ben and Bren Show, which is what we originally concepted, and then kind of Dylan came along, just so everybody's aware, as sort of like our Jamie, or like our maybe producer who was gonna whatever, but we ended up like not really needing that because you can edit everything, and so it's really kind of the Ben and Bren and Dylan show, but
uncredited.
So we want
I'm really coattail riding.
We want to make sure that that Dylan's included and that everybody gets to know you, and you have an exciting story that sort of parallels some things that I've been through as well that we're excited to talk to you about.
Certainly.
100%.
Next time, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for Dylan. Everybody, thank you for listening. Go listen to Brennan Villines everywhere, and you'll thank me later. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Stuff you know and stuff you don't. It's the Ben and Bren Show.